Cox?
Here.
Mr. Wallenhurst?
Here.
Ms. Muskie? Here. And Mr. Roberts is absent today.
All right, first is approval of the October 21st, 2024 minutes. Anybody have any comments?
I don't.
I'd move to approve as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. First applicant up is lot consolidation on North Bedford Road. Is there someone here for that? Feel free, come on up and have a seat. And can we get your names for the record?
Ken Morrow.
Bernadette Morrow.
All right. Why don't you just give a brief overview of what you'd like to do here, and then we'll get into the comments from the staff.
Well, we own 3 properties at North Bedford Road. One of the properties has 2 sublots. So we're consolidating, getting 3 sublots. We're taking the back halves of the south and north property, and we're taking it off and putting it on the center property.
Okay. Mr. Francis, would you like to go over your thoughts?
Sure, that sounds about right. So my report is from November 1st, and the applicant's going to create 3 parcels from 4, and really all of them are sort of non-conforming at this point
Right.
with the depth ratio. So the resulting 3 parcels, 2 of them will conform, 1 will still remain non-conforming. When you look at nonconformities, you always want to try to eliminate or reduce nonconformities, and that's what this request is doing. So the northern, if you look at my report, there's a little aerial. I tried to kind of color code it, although I'm not sure orange comes out that well, but the northern orange outline will create what's called parcel A on the consolidation plat, lot split consolidation plat. Then the red large parcel, which is like 25 acres, that will be the applicant's parcel, that's parcel C. And then 9449 North Bedford LLC will own the other orange parcel that's comprised of the 2 skinny bowling alley parcels. That's a conforming lot. I don't know if 9449 LLC, if that's you as well.
That's us, yeah.
Okay, so you own, yeah, so you own them all. And that will be conforming. So it would really be that the planning commission would just have to grant an exception to the width to depth ratio for parcel C, which the applicant will own. And again, it's not making it any more non-conforming, and it's eliminating 2 other non-conformities by making parcel A and C. So I think it can be approved with the commission's modification to the width to depth ratio. The only thing I just felt that the consolidation plat, there should be a resubmittal of that consolidation plat, because it references in the owner information down at the bottom, it seems to imply that Heigl and Flat are a part of this, because they're labeled as C and D.
I know they put the C and D on there, but there's already a C with R.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just notes that the
Yeah, I think it's probably
spare
an
put
error.
there, and those people have nothing to do with us. And if you look at the drawing, the big drawing, you got the big drawing?
Yeah.
You can see the dark line that's our property.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. I think it's
Okay.
probably just a clerical error or whatever.
Right.
So just, I would recommend the commission approve it, subject to submitting one that doesn't show that.
Show C and D.
That little error, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I can answer any questions you may have.
So you said we could prove it. How would we reference the non-conforming one? It should be noted, you said,
Yeah.
to allow the non-conforming.
Yeah, that you're granting an exception to the width to depth ratio, but you're not exceeding the already non-conforming that exists. So all you're doing is eliminating 2 non-conformities by creating A, and I guess that's A and B.
A and
A and
B are
B.
separate.
B.
C's
Right.
is the non-conforming one.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they labeled them
Yeah, I know, out
A,
of
C,
order.
and B, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
He was a little spacey.
Yeah, I think is he could have fat fingered it. I don't know. I've done that. So yeah, you would just have to grant the width to depth exception for parcel C. And again, it's not giving something that already exists. It's already non-conforming.
Okay. Mr. July, do you have any
Yeah, I mean, generally, plat looks good. I'm cool with it. Not creating any additional buildable lots, so that's a good thing. Really, this would be an item between you and the county, or your surveyor and the county. There's technically two different legal owners of the various properties. I know it's really all you
Right,
guys,
right.
but two legal owners that are different. The county might want that somehow to be all arranged to be one owner. However you handle that with the county really is up to you guys. I'm not gonna let that slow
Yeah.
down our.
It's kind of strange, the one property that the line goes right through the house and we get 2 tax bills for it.
Wait, say that again?
The one property is split right down the middle of the house.
Yeah.
and there's-
9449.
And that's on 2 lots. So
Yeah, the
we-
house is on two
We
lots.
actually
You
get 2 properties.
tax bills for it.
Yeah.
That's an unusual situation, so. County might wanna try to clean that
Yeah,
up too.
we'd like to clean it up. too.
Yeah, I bet.
Regardless of this action, you can have a tax bill consolidated, regardless of consolidating parcel lines.
Well, that's okay, we want to get this taken
Yeah,
care of.
this will cure that problem
Yeah.
as well.
Correct.
Okay, Lucian? Monaco?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner, you guys have any, got a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what does someone do with a non-conforming lot? Maybe I'd ask Brian that. What do you end up, can you do with it? It's just raw land to look at?
We have a forest land there.
Or what?
We have a forest land, so we're actually in a forestry,
Oh, okay.
the state forestry, what do you call it?
Like the forestry program.
Yeah.
And so we have a forestry management plan
Yeah, I know.
to help
I know
us,
what
you know,
those
like
are.
maintain.
So the 2 other
forest
lots
and stuff.
you're gonna build on, or you could build on, because they're now,
No, there's
No,
nothing you
yeah.
can build on them.
you're not gonna build it.
No, it would almost be impossible.
Why do you need to do this? Put it that way. If this-
Just to
To-
add more forest land to our
Oh, I
existing
see.
parcel.
Yeah, and what has happened is because the one lot is titled to an LLC,
Yeah.
they won't count the back property as part of the forest land.
Oh, I get you.
So that started the ball rolling, so if it's ours, it can all be forestry.
Yeah,
Sure.
it had to all be in our name.
So it cleans
I
up the
get it.
tax bill issue and the forestry issue.
Right.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah,
not
and-
creating any new buildable lots, Mr. Cox.
And if, you know,
Well, that
if we
answers-
chose to sell the other 2 houses, we still have the land.
There you go.
Right, and you get a bigger exemption on your forested property.
Yeah. Yeah, it adds like 5 acres to
Yeah,
it.
it's
Right now,
good.
I think it's 17.
Less to the government.
I guess that's one way of looking at it, but our tax bill will probably increase because we're taking the property.
Any other questions you guys have? All right, well then, I'll make a motion to approve, and note that we're allowing the exception to the width to depth standards on parcel C, and contingent on a revised legal description for the.
Well, the legal
naming or-
description, I don't know,
or is
I
it-
really would have to make another plat though, because we have legal descriptions for the properties that are involved. So,
I think that there's a motion, they need to get a second, and then we can discuss it.
I guess, so I'll say a revised lot split consolidation plan, not the legal description.
I'll second that.
Okay, so now we could discuss that more.
Yeah, it's just cleaning up that error on the plan, just so for the city's records, it's correct.
okay,
Okay, so if, when all of us aren't around anymore and somebody goes to look at it and they scratch their head and say, why is this labeled C versus what it's supposed to be labeled, and why is D on there? So it's just correcting that,
okay.
and you can tell the guy, Spacey guy, to do it without charging you because he made the mistake.
He said he would check, well,
Yeah.
the problem with him is he's real hard to get hold of. It took him 2.5
2
years to survey the property. And I had to help him.
It's a big piece of property, but it's not that big.
It's not that big,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you know, then I'm out there helping him because he's coming out with, never mind.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
I'll say it this way. If it's gonna take them another year to get you a plan, I think the city administration can initial it with you and notarize the plan that's presented as
That would
being-
probably be easier.
Yeah, so that's probably just fine. Whether that gets through the county, that's a different issue.
All All
And
right,
then I think, Mr. Chair, I heard you say in your motion that the basis for the width to depth exceedance is because that condition already exists, and therefore you're not expanding the nonconformity.
correct.
That's right.
Thank you.
Pretty simple.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next is the lot split for the Knights Inn on Highland Road. So you guys, your assistant doesn't want to come up to the table?
He's just there for support.
Okay. All right, why don't you just give us a brief overview, what you're planning here?
So we have the existing hotel, Knights Inn, and it has a almost 3-acre lot. We would like to split it in half, trying to propose a new hotel construction on a west side, which is going to be 1.5 acres. And we would like to keep the
Existing.
existing hotel continuously running as on a second partial.
Okay. So to do that, you want to
That's the
do this
reason we
lot
want to
split?
do
Okay,
split
and
that.
then so is the plan, and I know Mr. France will come talk about this, but to tear the one down? is
That's
that-
gonna be tear down once we commence the second building's construction, like a new hotel construction. Until then, we are planning to keep it as a operational building.
Okay.
But in order to release that partial from our existing lien holder, we need to have it registered with the county, and that's the reason we are doing this first step towards it.
All right. Mr. France?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so I color coded, same thing as the last one, November 2nd memo, and the two parcels comply with the code. The issue is gonna be that the city needs the building gone to be able to release it to be recorded to the county. There can be some lag, but if the intent is that lag is gonna be, a year, 2 years, whatever, that's gonna be problematic. How you address the lag is with a performance like bond. In this instance, we're not chasing paper, so it'd be like a cash bond or a letter of credit. But it sounds like you're gonna market and it's gonna take a while. That's gonna be problematic.
Don't think so. We are anticipating to move faster as it can be. So up to end of 2025, that's when we want to break the ground. That's our
Yeah, that's a long
plan
time.
is.
So you can't have another building traverse over property lines, so.
But it's, even if it's gonna be under the same entity,
Yeah, because it's gonna create all kind of problems for setbacks and things you have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. This commission can't approve that. Yeah, they can't approve that. So if you told them that I'm going to tear it down, it's gonna be torn down in 60 days, whatever the short time period is, then they can do that, subject to, and there'd be, again, some sort of letter of credit or a cash bond to guarantee it. And then if you exceed that time period, they cash that bond, or they take your cash and they go hire a demo company and they demo it. Presents some issues if you have tenants in there, so it's a more challenging situation since you're wanting to take longer.
but even if the city approvals and all the building and zoning things, it's still gonna be longer, right?
You're not gonna get through planning commission in like 30 or 60 days and then have the thing demoed and start construction, and that's just not realistic.
I understand that. That's why we were proposing that it's a functional building. We would like to keep it running until the day of the demolition.
Yeah, and the only way you could do that is to go for a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow a building to traverse property lines, whether it's same ownership or not. You have setbacks.
Okay,
And the way you're proposing it, the building's built over another property line. I get you own it, but this group can't approve that and allow that without you going to get variances.
so what would be that bond and how long the time frame we would get?
I think that's a conversation, but I would say it's not any longer than 60 to 90 days.
90 days is the max.
I think so. I mean, I think that's a reasonable amount of time.
Even if we are investing like up to a multi-million project on the upcoming partial, you would not still give us any leeway.
I mean, you could work with the administration.
Yeah, to this point, it does create a lot of issues. I guess, let me ask a couple questions. If you plan to break ground 12 months from now on the new hotel,
Correct.
why do you need to do the lot split now? And if you want to do the lot split now and break ground in 12 months, why don't you demolish the building to be demolished? Why don't you build it now? I guess, I don't think we understand the timing or the reason behind it.
So the timing is, currently we have a lien holder on the property,
Okay.
which has whole property on it, like 3.5 acres,
Yeah.
or 3 acres.
Okay.
So they need to know, they need to see the split before they release this other half of it.
But why would they be releasing the lien on the other half when you don't have a buyer? That'll get released when you go to do title work, so that doesn't add up to me.
I don't get your question.
So I come and I buy your second half and I'm gonna buy it from you, or you find me and I'm gonna build a hotel or whatever it is.
Mhm.
You're gonna do title work to create that parcel at that time.
Okay?
So I'm not sure why, to Mr. July's question, you would wanna get the lot split done now. You can market it as is, and when you come in to this commission, unless things change in our subdivision regulations, this can be created. Short of one other issue, just to make sure you're not in limited access right away from ODOT, but, that's a different conversation piece. So I'm not sure why you'd have to do the lot split now.
We need to do the lot split, so that way 2 entities remain separate on 2 lots. And financial wise, it needs to be released from the current lien holder.
Yeah,
If I come to you, let's say you are owning this place, and you have a lien on entire thing. I come to you and I say, I need to have a split on half. Then you would say, no, you have a problem because you own entire partial of it. I would say, okay, let's split it half, let's reappraise it, and get it approved, and you get your money back from the half of it. Rest, we can reconstruct it. That's the process we are going for.
Yeah, so, I mean, the way I interpret that is, are you using the equity from the land to finance the other piece of it?
No, we just want to reutilize the existing property's equity to release the other land, which is going to be for the, dedicated to the new construction.
Right? And that still doesn't answer my question why you have to do that now.
Because the current lien holder wouldn't allow us to reconstruct on other land. Then it's going to be a mingle of 2 identity cross colliding, and nobody would like to finance that project.
Yeah, I think where Brian's going is, all that being said, I think we get it, we understand your situation, I think.
So it's like chicken
But-
versus egg.
Yeah, it's chicken and the egg. I think where it puts us in a tough spot, what Brian is saying, you can't just draw a property line through an existing building.
Understood
It
that.
creates a lot of other issues, and I think we were, at least myself, we were under the impression that the building was coming down like soon.
No,
And
can't.
he says, okay, well, we can give him a little bit of leeway, all right, he's gonna demolish the building, we'll approve the lot split, and, you know, we'll do our part, you do your part, and we're all good, and you have a blank lot that you can redevelop, and we're all for that.
Okay.
But it sounds like my assumption was wrong, that's not actually what's happening. You've got some other stuff to go through, and you're at least 12 months away from demolishing this building and breaking ground. But I understand what you're saying, Brian.
Can I ask
Um,
a question, Mr. Chair?
Why do you need all that land over the building then? Can't you just create a lot split that gives you 20,000 square feet?
No, because the new building will be more than 20. It's like 40,000 square feet, construction-wise, so,
But you'll release your lien if you do that, right?
I'm sorry?
You'd release your lien if you did that. If you
Yes,
created a conforming lot, you'd
yes,
release your lien. And
Correct.
you come back here and recombine later when you go to raise your building. So you could come back to this commission and add the property back in and make a bigger parcel. So it satisfies your desire to get the lien released.
So you are proposing that just get the lien released
Yeah.
with
With a conforming lot.
conforming lot, which is the way it's presented right now.
Well, no, because it's going through a building.
Okay,
I'm suggesting that you.
make it like
Again, I don't know if
1.2
this
or
will work,
something?
But it sure seems like it would.
Going down the center of that drive.
And create something like that.
Oh, much smaller.
Much smaller, but conforming to our code. You get a lot split, and then come back later and take what you want land-wise, we don't care. You just have to have more, you have to have a new description drawn up, and it satisfies everybody's needs. You get your lien released, and we can approve something for you. Because they can't approve it with a building over it if it's gonna be a long-term venture, which a year is a long time.
Okay, so can we move ahead and discuss about how long the time frame we would get to demolish the first building, I mean the second building?
There's another question before we get there.
Yeah, I had a question. Is there a reason why you couldn't just take and draw it down the center? And this may create setback issues, so I'm just gonna kind of bring it up, but there's that drive that goes between the two buildings. Is there a reason we couldn't just create the property line between the two buildings there? That then gets you your lot split and it keeps the two buildings completely on their own parcels and lets you do whatever you need to do on each one?
That can be
Cause I'm not,
rethink about.
I don't know why, I mean, I guess maybe there's a reason for where that line was drawn.
Main
But my
reason-
thought would be is like if you just took it down the center of that road, or even just,
Understood.
or even, I guess which parcel you're planning on building a new one on, sorry, on the blue?
Planning to build on this one.
So what if you even just took it right to, I mean, could they take it right to the edge of that building, just create the property line? I mean, it doesn't meet the setbacks.
Whatever the
but,
setback is, 10 feet or whatever.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they might be able to do that.
if you
It's the
just,
same
again,
concept of what I was saying.
yeah, I
effectively.
couldn't see, you're sorry.
But it's probably
Okay.
easier, what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean, either that, yeah, whatever could get you to this conformance, yeah, I mean, that too even, but whatever gets you to that conformance, then again, it lets you demo that building. It creates your two separate lots.
So here's the thing, we wanted to put something else on the front building as well.
On this one,
Yes, eventually, few years from now, not now, but that's the ongoing plan. Once the new hotel comes up here, we would like to move ahead and
Well, I
construct
think that
something
would
there,
still
and
get
that's
you-
the reason, yeah, I get that.
that would still get you, I mean, it would still create two separate lots, because my guess, because I know where you're getting at, the minute you have a building here and you wanna do something here, you can't have them combined, because you'd have one ownership here.
Agreed.
So,
And
again, I
the
guess-
other point was, we just need a 1.5 acre land, that's why we had this
You
one,
didn't want to give up more than you need to.
more than we need to, that's
I
the
wonder if
reason
you
we
could-
had that way.
I guess my recommendation would be is whatever like basically at the edge of this building, I can't tell if it's that or if it's that little piece right there, but if that's the edge of your building,
Yes,
just take your new property line to the edge of there
okay,
for the time being and let you do your lot split. And then if you need to, I guess make it,
Resplit it.
it again after you demo this, then that's your own choice. I mean,
Leave
and then
more
you
towards the
get,
side.
Back
yeah, and then you get
this
this piece
square.
back.
I like this idea.
Or maybe you don't need all, I mean, maybe you don't, maybe you wouldn't need to, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the distance of like here to here is, but again, just kind of,
Agreed, yeah, we can resubmit it for that, if you will.
The buildings are 30 feet apart, Scott.
So
But I like your idea,
put a
though.
line
Yeah.
15 foot down the middle and,
I don't think it's 25-foot setback.
25 is side.
So you need variance.
so you need a variance for your setback
But I
temporarily.
guess the variance, if you could get the variance,
palatable
you could at
one.
least leave the buildings.
Is that something that can be done by our commission, given the fact of there's a, no?
No, it has to go to Board of Zoning Appeals.
They could help you through that process, probably, building department, but maybe, yeah, maybe that line with a variance, or, it's closer to the building with the plan, knowing what the full future plan is. And then, once you get that release, you could still be operating, and then when you decide to pull the trigger, you get the plan to demolish the building, you do another lot split to add this back into this one.
Yeah, we could do that, that's not a problem, so, what's the
Chairman,
process to
yeah.
resubmit it?
Chairman, is it helpful if the applicant provides a long-term preliminary plan for the redevelopment of the site? Shows
I mean, I don't know if it would help.
new building, and then now he's also
BZA.
mentioning adding on to building number 1 in the future.
It doesn't,
There's-
he needs to prove he has a practical difficulty unique to the property, I don't know how you do that. I'd just create a 20,000 square foot lot and move on, but.
No, but the newer hotels don't allow that much space-wise, so that's the
I
thing.
understand that, but for purposes of finding, who's
Understood,
building it? Are you
understood.
building it or someone else?
It's
Are
gonna
you
be.
selling it for somebody else
No,
to
no,
build
no,
it?
we are gonna build it.
You're gonna build it, so
That's
you're
why
not
I'm here.
marketing this, so you're just gonna gift yourself back property at a later date, that's all you're doing. You're gonna give yourself more land. If you took this parcel, and I'm just talking out loud for a second. What I just drew with the little red lines,
Mm-hmm.
if that's 20,000 square feet, subdivide that off, you got a lot, you release your lien, and then come back and recombine with the rest of the land you wanted when you're ready to do it.
That's still gonna not give us enough land for the other one, so can we, I like his idea, can we just split it in between and then do it?
I guess
Then
there's
you
no
can do your
guarantee you'll get
variance.
the BZA
The
approval.
BZA means.
To get the setback, Board of Zoning Appeals,
Okay,
so it's another board. You gotta go in front of them to allow, a setback.
just 25,
Yeah, 'cause it's 25 feet, you don't have 25 feet, you don't have 50 feet between them.
I think I do.
Okay, Joe, you were thinking there was only 30 feet apart?
It only says that there's 76.3 feet between the edge of this one and where the property line is, so I'm guessing there's not 50 feet there. It's probably it only might be about 25 feet. I mean, if we kind of break it up into thirds,
So
it's
25
probably-
each, right, on both sides?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this should be enough.
So, what, are you, I guess not to get into too much of your business pieces of it, but are these buildings both always full? Like where you couldn't relocate all of these people into this building and then this just gets demoed to help? Again, I don't know your operations, it's just
I
another
need
thought,
to,
like,
yeah.
does it take all of this away? Whereas if you're able to basically move everybody over to here, demo that building and be done with it, then you can just do exactly what you need to do over the next X amount of months.
Let me rethought about it and come back to it.
Just it would save you the variance and redoing the property line again if you needed to, so.
Sure. So if that building goes away, then it's gonna be the simple split.
That would be the
Easier
the
and
simplest
faster.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, if you,
That's an easy split.
yeah, and I mean, if you need to, you could talk to the building department, Mr. Monaco or
Okay.
Mr. Gelati, that would be, run something past them.
Yeah, let us rethought about it and recoup on this thing. But there was other question about the right-of-ways and access. So on the parcel number, on the west side of the parcel, which is already adjacent to the Highland Road, which has a direct access to the island. And the east side has a easement access with Highland Road, which is current, 2 driveways are there. So we are not anticipating to overlap or put a lien on each other for the right-of-way purposes
So you're planning on accessing the new development parcel from Highland?
from Highland.
Directly.
Directly.
From somewhere over here.
So when that time comes, we'll want to have a conversation about the driveway placement, and I don't know if there's limited access there, ODOT limited access.
He has regular right-of-way access right here, Brian.
Okay.
And then this is limited access over here. but
Okay, so it doesn't go on to Highland at all?
Does
That's
not
shot- that's kinda shocking.
appear that way. It looks like it crosses over Highland.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
coming
Just
around
have
that
to keep the
curve.
driveway out of the limited
Just
access.
Some
underneath the,
visibility issues, so
But-
it may,
we could
may need to
create,
push it.
we could create right there, which is right next to the existing other hotel, so that will
Yeah.
allow us in like a front of the get-go.
something like that may have to be done, yeah. I don't-
And it might
putting
have
it
a second
here
one
could be
too.
Could be difficult.
That's like trying
Just
to
the
line it up.
visibility, You'll have
Line
to
it up
look
across
at.
from where Tacos Mexicanos
The
is,
top, yeah.
exit is
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, you can align it with that.
If you align it with that, I think it'll make it easier if it conforms in all the other manners, but that would be my recommendation, is that it goes right across. While you're thinking through that, put it right across from Tacos Mexicanos exit.
Okay.
That way there's not offset drives and so
Yeah.
on and so forth.
Obviously, engineers or architects will do that, so that's not a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
But we wanted to just move forward with this first step, so
Okay,
That
so
can be
I
done.
think probably, yeah, so if you're gonna go back and think about it, Mr. Franz, would be appropriate to continue this to maybe the January meeting?
Well, I mean, it depends on how fast he thinks he can get his answer. You could do it for December or January.
What's the deadline coming up? Is it
This Friday.
this Friday?
22nd, I know, but that should be okay.
You think you'd be okay
I-
by this
Yeah, let
Friday?
me rethink about it. Either we can demolish it. What's the maximum time we can get the demolition wise?
To,
I'm sorry, how long it takes to get a demolition permit?
No. Yeah, permit for how long can we continue operational with that building until we demolish it? Before we get this approval?
Well, we can issue demolition within a week. I mean, you just come to the building department, ask to do for a demolition.
Okay.
And we can give you a permit immediately. I mean, that's not a problem.
Okay.
The problem is you probably have to give your tenants enough time to, move out.
That's not a problem,
Oh,
but,
okay. No, it won't take long to issue permit for a demolition. That's done very quickly.
but our current lien holder won't allow us to demolish until we release that, so that's the other chicken and egg thing. So, let me rethink about it.
Okay.
all right.
We might have to offset the land, as you suggested.
Well, if that, I'll make a motion to continue this to the December meeting.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, hopefully we can get it figured out. That'd be a
Thank you.
Thank
tricky,
you.
tricky situation.
I like the idea, thanks.
All right. Next up is property improvement at 480 Highland Road.
There we go, okay. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to talk for a minute.
Can you get your name for the record?
My name is Bob Sisler, and I represent Myron Ardetsky. I work Myron.
Ms. Franz, would you like to go through your thoughts on this one?
Sure, and my memo dated November 3rd, I have a whole write-up about, you may remember back when we dealt with the Dalm property. It came in, there was some issues with the bottom parcel to the south, not having frontage on the road. They came back, resubmitted. I did not recall that the parcel that's in question tonight was created. Talking to Mr. Gelati, he seems to think it was. Then we looked on the county website, because when I looked, it was not on there. I don't know if maybe it got recorded recently, but I looked a couple times, it wasn't, it was on there tonight. So, looks like it's a parcel of record. And what the desire is to do outdoor storage to the rear part of the property. Again, gave you a little color coded on page 2 of my memo. They want to effectively do in that blue rectangular area of the orange piece of the property, which is the piece they picked up from Dalm. They want to do outdoor storage in that area. And so, taking a look at the code, that back piece is actually zone general industrial. The frontage is zone limited industrial, which does not allow outdoor storage. The rear, that blue piece does. And so, taking a look at the code under 116904F, it speaks to how to treat outdoor storage. And so, effectively, it has to be screened. The planning commission has to allow it. My concern is that there's some outdoor storage that's already occurring at 480 East Highland within the area that is not zoned general industrial, and that outdoor storage is not legally permissible. And if that's desired to remain on the limited industrial portion of the property, they would have to get a variance for that. Or if this gets approved, I suppose they could move it to the general industrial portion neatly and have it remain there. The code does require a 15-foot side and rear yard setback for outdoor storage. Based on the sketch, it was tough to tell if that is being adhered to or not, the setback for the outdoor storage. It just says they want to put down gravel on that portion. It doesn't really show where on there that they want to do the storage.
Yeah, it was, I don't really have a drawing yet to do that. We're very much in the beginning stages. That's why I'm here to collect the info, what we need to do, what we're not allowed to do, what we are allowed to do, all that fun stuff.
Okay, you can, with approval, do outdoor storage in general industrial with a setback of 15 feet. You'll need a plan that shows that. You can't have storage on the limited industrial property. That's a violation of the code. And then you can't have gravel for your outdoor storage. It has to be hard surface. So those are the things that are at play in this application.
Then I guess we would have to request a variance for the gravel.
You could.
So that's what we need to do then.
Yep, you could.
Is that where I do the here tonight, or
No,
how do I
that's
go
gotta
about that?
That's gotta go to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
All right,
A different entity.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. July, anything additional?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. It's my memo from last week on this topic. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it by now. To Brian's point, gravel is not allowed as a parking lot surface. It's got to be asphalt or concrete unless you get a variance from the BZA. Then there's a few, let's call them environmental issues that come into play here. We're dealing with what's really kind of an undeveloped area
Right.
back there. So, one is potential wetlands on the site.
Well, I
So,
just got the study back today.
okay.
Most of the area, there's a couple, maybe 200 square feet. That's wetlands, everything else. Where we're looking to put the gravel, it's not wetlands.
Okay, all right, so, as we move forward in this process, make sure you submit that to Susan.
I literally just got it this afternoon.
Okay, all right, so that's one thing. The other is there's a stream that runs, kind of follows that diagonal property
Yeah, we're
line.
staying away from the streams.
So there's a riparian setback ordinance that goes along with that. It appears to be 75 feet in this particular instance. So the plan that you submit in the future, sounds like through your conversation here with Brian, that you're going to be providing a more detailed plan of what you want to do. We need to show that riparian setback distance on the plan. And basically, we need to stay out of the riparian setback with fill, paved surface, outdoor storage, or any real disturbance to the area. And then the last would be FEMA flood zone, which was on page 2 of the memo that I produced. There is a flood zone as well back here. So generally, we need to stay out of the flood zone. All these things, while not insurmountable, they're all hurdles you need to clear, challenges presented with this particular piece of property. So, and like I say, it sounds like you're coming back to Planning Commission in the future with a better plan.
Well, I knew this was gonna be a process and not a one-time deal.
Yeah, and it will be, you're right. And
Yeah.
so make sure you account for these
Yeah.
items on your resubmission.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. That's all, Chairman.
All right, Mr. Monaco?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. You guys have questions?
Yeah.
To do that, so I guess the BZA application, do you know when that is?
It's
When it's
usually
due?
the same as mine.
Okay.
So it's probably Friday, I would guess.
So
I'm
I'm gu-
guessing.
I'm guessing we'll probably, wouldn't be able to come back probably to here until January at least. Does that sound right? Okay. Well, if you guys are okay, I'll probably continue this to the January meeting, if that sounds right.
I'm good with that.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue this item to the January 2025 meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, hopefully got some answers and
Just to make a suggestion, please remove all that storage and the junk cars from that limited industrial area, please. We've been.
That process has already begun.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next item up is Ground Up, 1411 East Twinsburg. Welcome back.
Thanks. We have some revised prints. Can you pass them out?
Sure.
All right. So I believe 10 copies is the correct number?
Could be, I'm not sure. We just know we get
That's
one
what
of
I
them and.
request, 10, just to make sure that everybody gets one.
Yeah, there you go. Pass out those.
Oh, thanks.
Plan.
Can I get a copy of the plans? I just have this.
Oh, I think they're back there. Is there one more extra one up there?
Yep.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on with, especially with the revised plan, then we'll get into the comments, I guess.
Sure, yeah, so, looking at the comments, I think we've addressed most of them. I'd like to, discuss that today. But also, in addition to that, we are on the BZA agenda this Wednesday for the outdoor storage component.
Okay.
So that's coming up as well.
Okay, so, actually, I don't, Mr. Friends, what would be the best way, no one got these revised plans, do you still want to go through your memo and they can tell you what things are updated?
What are you on the agenda for the BZA for?
Sorry?
What are you on the agenda for?
For the outdoor storage,
For what?
Specifically, we needed a variance. We needed, I think it was 300 feet, but our lot was too small. Couldn't
Okay, so
accommodate.
you're planning to do outdoor storage?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So this is after we talked last meeting. We spoke with Nino, we spoke internally. It seemed the prudent way to go, so that there isn't, we don't put the burden on the building department to come, if they leave a shovel out overnight or something, that there isn't, it's not gonna be a potential issue in the future. Or if, I don't know, just the everyday functioning of a landscape supply company, if you have, equipment that you need. So that the outdoor storage component, we're looking to put behind the building or to the north.
So how would you like to, or you want to take a few minutes, take it in, or do you?
Well, we can, I'll come back to the outdoor storage piece.
While we're waiting, Brian, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Initially, you weren't gonna have any outdoor storage, isn't that right? You were gonna,
Correct. Again, but then
what kind of machinery do you have to,
what kind of machine?
mowers and things like that? Is that what we're talking about?
It is, but I think, well, you guys could answer the question. I think,
We don't plan on leaving anything outside except trucks and trailers, which we had spoke about last meeting. But it seemed like the outdoor storage was an issue, so we figured we would just go get it, go to the BZA and attempt to have it as a backup plan, just because it raised a lot of concerns last meeting, so we just figured to kind of check that box, we might as well.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
also to,
Gives you the flexibility.
But no, we don't plan on leaving any, mowers or skid steers outside, but, that's kind of the whole reason.
Where will you put your motors, in this building, this new building?
That's correct.
Inside, okay.
Most of them are housed inside of the trailers now.
Yeah.
I get you.
They're not.
Yeah.
It was just kind of per our conversation last meeting, it seemed like it would be a good box to check, to have that, just in case we get to that point.
right.
Because I know there was kind of a judgment on truck size, what was allowed to be outside, what wasn't. So if we have that and we end up getting a bigger truck, we already have it, so larger dump trucks. We were talking about what trucks were allowed outside, what trucks weren't.
Yeah.
So we just kind of, it's more or less of a,
Proactive move.
yeah,
So it's not for materials?
no.
Your outdoor storage, you're planning on paving, 'cause you heard the last one, we have to have paving. You're
Yeah.
planning on that?
So that's something we would like to talk to BZA about. We're
Oh.
aware of it, we are now. So that is something we would, I guess that's a call for BZA to make, correct? Is that, or is that
I
planned?
don't know. Yeah, Brian, yeah.
For the outdoor storage,
You can get a variance for practically everything.
Or for the paving? If you
Yeah, for the
have-
paving.
Like, for example, the storage area that we're requesting, we may not utilize all at once, but if they need to grow into it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then we may expand, but at least we have it, allotted as such.
Did you request that in your application to the Board of Zoning Appeals?
For,
The-
we did.
You did for hard surface, to eliminate hard surface?
We discussed it with, was it Chris Hall?
Okay.
So we discussed it, I don't know that he had an answer.
Well, you would put it on your application. You made application to the BZA, right?
We did,
You did-
yeah.
On your application, did you
I
request?
think it was in the write-up or the summary. The application, I don't recall the application form, I think it was, but we had to submit a summary statement with it.
Yeah.
I believe it was in that summary statement.
Okay.
So that, and that's something,
Because
We're
you
not
have to
trying to
clearly
sneak it in.
state your request, right?
Yeah, you have
The
to,
application.
you have to state your request on the application. But I just wanna make sure, it's more for your own benefit,
Yeah.
because if it didn't get published in a newspaper that you were requesting a variance for hard surface, they can't just add that on. It's a legal proceeding, so it has to be on the application.
Yes, whereas we can be sometimes flexible, like, okay, we'll agree to this, do this other little thing, they can't. It's just not possible there.
Maybe what I would do is, this is just a recommendation to you guys, it's for your own benefit. Maybe you wanna look at your application, if you didn't include it, you could do one of two things. You could resubmit for the next BZA meeting, or you could just proceed with hard surface, and then later, if you decide you don't wanna do hard surface, you can go back to them and request it. I'm just trying to short circuit some of your time frames, so you're not.
Yeah, that, if that's what we have to do, then I suppose that's the procedure.
I would look at your application.
Yeah, I don't, let me see. What the hell is
It's really kinda outside these guys' purview.
it? Yeah.
This is more really to kinda help you with your timing.
Can they amend the application if it's not, the hearing isn't yet? Can they just?
No, because it has to go to the people, it has to go to affected
Abutting neighbors.
affected property owners, and it has to clearly state what the request is, what time the meeting is, what's the date, the nature of the request.
So the application's just one page, and it's just one line, and we just requested for on-site outdoor storage.
Nothing about hard surface.
It does not, no, but I believe it's in the write-up, the subsequent write-up, which is.
No, that's not gonna work. You need to apply again, yeah.
We
I
have to
kinda
apply.
glanced at that too. You should apply directly for both of them so that when the notices went out, they would outline both of the requests that you have. So right now, what went out was just the variance for, what you requested there, not for the parking.
Which at the end of the day, if they approve the outdoor storage with hard surface, that's the route we'll end up taking. I think more or less, if we could try down the road, like you were saying, like, hey,
So
maybe can't we do
That's probably your
this?
best bet.
Yeah, so right now,
It'll
we're just
save
gonna
you
stick with
time.
trying to get the outdoor storage, like I said, as a precautionary thing.
So going into BZA, just acknowledge that to them, and then if you decide you wanna not do it, then you can go back and request gravel. But at least you'll get action on the outdoor storage. You know, and you're gonna wanna be very specific. I can't tell you how to run your application, but you're gonna wanna be very specific in your presentation. What are you requesting? Exactly where, what are the setbacks, and exactly what are you putting? Because what you're doing is you're going for what's called a quasi judicial hearing. It's a court hearing. It's the middle ground between Court of Common Pleas and the zoning code. They're in the
Although
middle
right
is-
now, we kind of have no plans on using it as outdoor storage.
What's
So
that?
Can we do it as future outdoor storage? Because we don't have any plans on using it as outdoor storage right now,
Correct.
per our
Well-
conversation last meeting.
If our first step, I suppose, going to BZA, we'll, number one, if they grant us the variance for outdoor storage, period, I guess, like your approach. And then subsequently, if we get that, then if we have to come back to ask for.
Because you hate to drag it out an additional month for them to shoot it all down.
Right.
You know.
So let's try to get it, and then if
not
they
gotten
want to
anything.
let us do a loose surface.
Right.
Okay. But like you were saying, that's the only question I guess I would have. We don't actually plan on using it.
I would say
without-
you probably need to know what you might potentially, if you want to, if they want to limit it to machinery and not a pile of mulch, you might
Might want to have something.
have, like, we don't have any plans. Okay, well, we need to know what it would be, they might say too, so you should have some kind of plan. You may get locked
So that the
into it.
planning commission said we needed it isn't valid.
Right.
And my other recommendation too would be is probably don't, you know, since you're not gonna use it right away or don't plan on doing it, it would give you guys time to save up additional funds. Should you ever decide to use it, you could just pave it and then not have to go for the additional variance. Just a thought, just to kind of, again, get you guys to hope maybe pass that goal line.
Okay. So if you want outdoor storage, you wanna go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, go in with the mindset that it's hard surface, and you can just go back later if you decide differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise, you're gonna get held up every month. You don't wanna do that. My opinion, but.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a proactive move just to save both sides of money. If we run a machine that's got to sit outside overnight because it doesn't fit the building, so that would, we need more phone calls or anything like that.
Yeah, sure.
Some action needed.
All right, then if you want to go through
Yeah, where
considering.
are we?
Yeah, yeah, I can go through and
Yeah,
just
why
kind
don't
of
you
go
go
through
ahead
my
and go-
comments. So, you guys probably saw my comments. Nothing insurmountable, just it's a detail issue, so there's enough here for like a preliminary plan approval, which gives you the ability to go forward and now flesh this thing out and spend more money, basically. You got enough to generally show the concept of what you're wanting to do, and we know you're gonna go for the variance, so this group can make it subject to you going for the variance. So with that said, so there's some discrepancies between the architectural site plan and the civil plan. Maybe did you correct that already on the revised drawings?
I think we addressed some of the issues, but not everything. I think we're on it. We're aware of it.
Has this lot been surveyed?
It has. Yeah.
Okay, so you're able to put the whole lot on a sheet of paper?
The whole lot has not been surveyed.
Oh.
No, just the portion that you see that's on the civil. To do the whole lot, we could do that, but
I mean, eventually you're gonna have to have,
to start the property.
yeah, you're gonna have to have all your property lines shown on the civil
Yeah.
plan.
Let me correct. I'm not exactly sure specifically the topography and the specifics that you see on the civil was just that area. We don't have the topography of the whole site, but I mean, if.
We don't need topography, but
Right.
you
So-
gotta have your boundaries.
We'll have a boundary survey. We'll have
Yeah,
a plan,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so at some point in the future, I've recommended that the commission grant you like preliminary plan, which is, you know, kind of giving you a blessing to move forward
Yeah, I
and start
think
to spend
that's-
more money on the final design.
That would
So
be-
you're comfortable at least knowing you're not gonna get turned down later, is basically what I've recommended.
Yeah, so we're not spinning our wheels too.
Correct, but you're gonna have, you know, the boundary survey and correct some of these discrepancies at some point,
Correct.
before we can issue a final approval to then get a building permit to start construction, which is where we need to get you to.
I believe we had a survey, didn't you? When we purchased the property.
You have a mortgage survey,
Well-
probably.
We'll get straight.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
aware of it, it's in progress.
Okay.
We'll just, we're proceeding as such.
Okay, you're using Hess and Associates.
Yes, yeah.
Were you previously using Cunningham? I thought you were using somebody else. It doesn't matter, but.
It's always been us. Yeah, I think they did ship out, so.
Did it chip
Yeah, I
out?
think
Okay,
so.
yeah, okay. So that, yeah, that discrepancy, and then it looks like you're showing a drive, are you still showing a future drive along the side?
Correct.
Yeah,
We spoke, yeah, correct.
so you just have that 15 feet.
Which I think we're gonna extend to 20.
Okay.
For conversations with.
For fire,
For fire,
okay.
for future, yeah.
And just reflect that on your updated drawings then.
Yeah.
We already talked about the outdoor storage. And then your civil plan didn't show it, and it doesn't look like it still shows it.
No, it doesn't, but they will update it if, upon, our BZA on Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, so if you're definitely doing outdoor storage, your civil drawing has to reflect that. Okay? No issue with the height. There's a discrepancy on the off-street parking calculation. I'm assuming you corrected that on the revised plan.
You suggested just eliminate the 3 spaces in the back?
Well,
Or is it-
yeah,
There's a.
you only
parking-
need 13 spaces.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have these 3 that are kind of in the back that,
Yeah,
you know, I don't love when they're stacked like that.
yeah,
And if you don't need them,
don't use them.
yeah, I mean, there's no point in having them if
That's
you don't
fine.
need them.
I don't think there's any disagreement, or just, fine, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, so then just, yeah, your plans will reflect that change. Dumpster location. So you had 2 options.
Right.
And I get, you know, preferably the one behind the building would be better, but I get why if you're gonna expand the building and the civil drawing should reflect that. If you're gonna expand, that might be in conflict where you wanna put your dumpster, so I'm fine with going off of that corner, you know, where I don't know if you could see where I kinda just drew in extending the mound a little bit, just to
Yeah.
screen that a little bit better. It's not a big expense, but if you're gonna go with that side, I felt you should just screen it a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's what you guys are okay with. I think we're good with that location, if you guys are good with that location.
That's up to the commission. I mean, I get why you wouldn't go behind the building, because you're gonna potentially expand, which, from that perspective, I wouldn't put it back there either if I can avoid it. And then, so architecture, we can talk through that. It looks like maybe you updated on the architecture.
You're right.
And then, we can talk through that with the commission, and then eventually, you're gonna need, you know, photometrics, a landscape plan, stormwater management plan. Those can all come on the final plan process, but they will have to be on there. Now, the one thing that, I do remain concerned about, and I see that it changed a little bit on the revised. So you're trying to utilize your existing driveway, and you're gonna pave that. You're gonna have to widen that. It can't be, you know, whatever, I think it's 6 feet wide in one location.
We need it widened.
I think there's.
Yeah, so, what's that?
The existing
Driveway.
Yeah, like, it shows here it shows where you're coming in at 12 feet, but it's not that wide out it's not that wide out here. It widens as you come in. If it is, then just,
Yeah, I believe we're proposing it'll be a 12-foot drive, which I
I mean, this
think is.
scales to 6 feet. So I think the width is an issue, and I think, you know, I don't know if you've talked to fire about that, but I can't imagine they're comfortable with 12 feet. 12 feet wide. I think our standard is, minimum is 20 feet for a two-way drive.
I see.
So, you're gonna have to widen that for sure.
Well, I suppose if that's what it needs to be, then that's,
Yeah, this is all in our zoning code. The details of the widths, drive widths and such. Did you see that in there?
probably not, but we'll correct it.
Yeah, you're gonna wanna look specifically at 1171-11, and it speaks to like the parking space width and length.
Oh, we have regarding the parking?
Yeah, so then a two-way aisle, minimum width is 22 feet. For two-way.
For parking,
For your drive
or
aisle.
for drive aisle?
Minimum is 22 feet. So where you show 12, that won't work.
Drive aisle also being driveway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they're.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
So I think basically what he's saying.
I mean, you have plenty of space, it's just a matter of showing it on your civil plan and widening it out.
Yeah, we got 22 feet. The 22, the two-way, we're talking about the main entry drive, right? Not
Yeah.
the drive aisle.
Well,
Drive
the main
aisles.
entryway is a drive aisle, that's a driveway coming in. It's
Our
gonna be
question was
22
more or
feet.
less of the group of parking spots in the front of the building. So you're 22 between those two also,
That has to be
correct?
22 in between those.
I think we got that. It's just this
Yeah.
area.
I just out of curiosity, and I know maybe why you left the building back so far, but had you thought about moving the building closer to the road? 'Cause it would
The way
save you
the
a lot of money.
property,
Elevations.
the
It
elevations
doesn't work.
are-
It's a topography.
Topography doesn't work? Because I was thinking about your sanitary line, and it'd just be cheaper if you can,
And we don't wanna build on, I mean, even properly done, I don't wanna build our forever building on fill. So we don't wanna, I mean, where it's at down there, it's where the land levels out, is where the building's at.
I mean, the grading cost would cost more, but compared to extending utilities and all that, I mean, it's not my.
We looked into it. Our construction manager, Carl, he's not here this evening, but he's still looking into it. But we looked into it.
Ran some kind of numbers. I'm just thinking for these guys, if there's a way to save costs, you might be able to do it, but. So again, as I said to start out, I think conceptually it's fine from a preliminary standpoint. We've sort of hammered out the outdoor storage that you're gonna go for the variance. You'll just assume it's hard surface, and if you later choose differently, choose differently. You just have to go back to them, and you'll update the civil drawings, and,
Yeah, based on BZA.
yeah, and then you'll update them based on a boundary survey.
Correct.
Yeah. I can answer any of the commission's questions if you have any.
You think the site plan is okay, we're good enough, for preliminary, there's some things that'll need to be addressed, but we're on
Yeah.
the right track and think it could be accomplished.
Yeah, I think for these guys, I mean, I don't know how they're financing this, but they might need a formal blessing for the bank approval. I don't know, but I think they have enough right now just to conceptually show what they're trying to do.
Okay.
July? Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I guess I'll preface this by saying Chip Hess had sent me an email on Friday afternoon asking a couple questions. He did not copy any of you folks on it. I did not respond because I figured we would chat about it all here tonight. So my first comment is regarding wetland delineation for the site. Actually, what Chip mentioned in his email is that sounds like you folks have a wetland scientist working on that currently, so that's fantastic. What's that, I'm sorry?
In process.
In process, that's great. So when that process is complete, please submit it to the building department. Number two, this is a holdover comment from last time. The site plan as submitted still does not show any stormwater management, any sort of detention pond or feature. We do need to show that on the plan.
I think they've updated it a bit with catch basins, curbs.
No, I mean a detention feature.
Yeah, so I believe, and I think this is something this might have been what Chip was asking, that we're under,
No, that's not Chip what he was asked.
George?
Chip asked,
oh, Chip.
he emailed me, let me know that he had a wetland scientist, or you guys had a
Yeah.
wetland scientist working on the wetland delineation. His other point that he made is he asked if only the parking lot needs to be curbed or if the entire driveway all the way to Twinsburg Road needs to be curbed. We'll get to that in a minute. But my point is, we're developing this site, or redeveloping it, sort of. There's a house there right now. So as we create additional impervious surface, we need some sort of stormwater detention feature, some sort of stormwater management feature. And I know Chip can guide you through that process,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
You typically, it's a detention pond, or whatever you and Chip come up with is
There's
fine.
a minimum, you have to be disturbed less than an acre, that you don't need detention.
Sometimes, but on this site, I'm pretty sure we're gonna disturb more than an acre. I mean, you're 1,000 feet from the road, and
Yeah.
given the size of what I'm looking at here, by the time you get done doing everything you're doing, I'm sure you're gonna disturb more than an acre. And even if you disturb less than an acre, sometimes it's required. So I would get with your design engineer, Chip Hess, and have him review the site against our stormwater management code and take it from there, so. I don't wanna try to decipher it and solve it right here on the floor, so. Let's see, my next comment was about the parking lot. Yeah, the parking lot needs to be curbed. In my opinion, the entire driveway for 1,000 feet all the way to Twinsburg Road does not need a curb. That's kind of overkill, quite honestly. Speaking of the driveway out to Twinsburg Road, there's a creek, I know, in the, let's call it the front yard somewhere in the woods.
Yeah.
There's obviously a creek crossing of some sort of culvert pipe, but I don't really know what it is. It's not shown on the drawings that we've received so far. Are you planning on doing anything with that particular culvert crossing? And the reason I ask is because if you do, or you expand that crossing, you know, then again, we have the wetlands and the riparian setback code comes into play. So you don't have to answer on the spot.
That was the one, we had somewhat of a question. I was talking to Chip today.
Okay.
I guess he was looking for some clarification on that item.
Okay,
So
so
maybe-
yes, if you're gonna touch, I guess, the creek crossing, then
Yeah,
wetlands come into play.
yeah.
You know, Army Corps permission comes into play, of course, and riparian setback would come into play as well, all of
Yeah.
those parts of the code. So again, I would rely on Chip and, you know, review it against our code. I don't wanna go deep into the details, but those are all things that need to be thought about. The plan as submitted yet isn't really clear about even exactly where the crossing is. So, but I know there has to be one, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll look into that.
yeah, please do, please do. Moving along, abandoning the septic system, that needs a permit from County Board of Health. And then water needs to be permitted by Cleveland Water, and sanitary needs to be permitted by the county. And, you know, future plans need to show where that goes and how that ties into Twinsburg Road. Because right now, I'm sure there is no actual tap or connection on Twinsburg Road for either water or sanitary. So where is that? What side of the road? How do you get to it? Where are you opening up the right of way? All that type of stuff needs to be accounted for. So, again, another item maybe Chip could
Yeah, I believe that's.
provide you some
As
help.
plans progress, we'll.
Exactly, exactly. So those are the things I see coming up in the future for your next submittal. That's all, Chip.
All right. Mr. Kalish?
No, we talked earlier and we discussed, you know, they have future plans for the drive. Just give them the heads up, you know, it needs to be a minimum 22 inches for the corners, 22 feet for the corners. So,
Sorry, 20.
for the turns,
Oh, 22 for the turn.
yeah, for the turns.
Yeah, yep.
All right.
We're good.
Mr. Monaco, you have anything? All right. So, is this different than what was in the
It is,
Plan.
yeah, so this is based off of,
Some of the comments.
some of Pam's comments. She, well, I guess, did you, the easiest way to maybe go about, have you seen her sketches?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're trying to incorporate some of her comments into using the materials and the colors that we originally started working with. Essentially, some of the things she asked for, we updated the roof line, put a hipped roof on one end, so that there's somewhat of a change in the massing of the overall building. And per her, some of her sketches, we kind of took some cues to bump a sort of a portion of the front. This part here, we kind of bump this out, and we have like a little logo wall, and then just to kind of break up the massing, introduce, more detail to the building. She felt it was too boxy, too square, too minimal. So those are, essentially, it's not much of a different building. We added some fenestration, we added 2 windows to the east side of the building. I think it was someone's comment, Brian's comment, I believe. So that was, we did add additional windows. So we're hoping that this updated design is more acceptable.
Scott, you got thoughts on this?
I'm trying to take it in. One thought I did have was just to make because you guys did a nice job of bumping that entry out, I would do some kind of like just a simple peaked entry right there, just above the door.
Gable.
Yeah, just kind of a gable, just something simple. We'll follow that 412 pitch just right there, and then just tie it back into the roof. I think that'll just add a little bit more accent to there because it looks half unfinished, like it kind of goes up and just stops. My other comment, kind of minor, just make sure that like whatever you're doing on the left and right hand side, that's kind of an equal distance from like a perspective of the different change in materials right there and the color. Those were kind of the main catches that I had. I know that like adding any other real detail around or inside the building is going to be pretty limited because of it's more storage in the back part of the building, but I feel like the front definitely came a long way.
Go ahead.
Really, Mr. Giuliani, maybe I misunderstood. Did you say there's no sanitary sewer on Twinsburg Road right there?
No, I didn't say that. We just need to know where their
How they're
sanitary
gonna do it.
connection
There is
will
sanitary.
tie into the sanitary main on Twinsburg Road, yeah.
We'll tie into the sanitary. It's a little bit.
Chris, you have any questions or thoughts at this point?
No.
Tony, you
That's
think?
it, no, that's it for me.
Chairman, if I could go back.
Sure.
Just for a moment, as I look at the document that was handed out at the beginning here, I see Chip does write on here, total disturbed area, 0.8 acres. If you could let Chip know to delineate that disturbed area on the drawings. I don't know where he got that from.
And that's probably likely to change if the driveways get 10 feet wider.
Yeah, so.
Well, that wasn't incorporated. for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly how he arrived at that because it's not delineated, he didn't outline it on here, but he should, on the next submittal, show a boundary of total disturbed area. That would help all of us.
In addition, if the outdoor storage component too, would probably likely change.
Oh, yeah.
We'll
Or of course, if you can stay under an acre, it's a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So take that into consideration, advise,
Yeah.
don't take this wrongly, advise your client accordingly,
Yeah.
because it may save them money.
Oh, we are doing our best to minimize our paved surfaces.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at.
It's a lot of paving.
There's probably other ways to reduce paving on this site too, so just something to think about.
I think the building itself, I like this a lot better.
Yeah, I do
No
too. I
one-
think it looks really good.
No one, that it's visible to residential, but it is way back there. You know, I think making it look good, but maybe not going nuts. And I think somebody's memo, maybe it was Brian's, maybe it was Pam's, I forget. You know, said the kind of, you know, was keeping that in mind. We're not gonna run you through if you were downtown Macedonia in the Western Reserve architecture. But I think that looks, I think it's a good looking.
I do too, and I was gonna even say, just, I know you guys have spent a lot of time and effort into this too. If you know, if you needed to use more of that vertical siding on the building elsewhere and use more of the stone, as your base, I'd be okay with that too, just as an FYI, because I feel like it would save, I mean, that's a lot of CMU that you guys are buying that, as you continue to get more into this, just something to be cognizant of. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to showing, I mean, like Pam had a real good example right there of like where your base is more of like your stone and then you use more of that vertical siding right there. Like, I'd be okay with
So
that.
the vertical siding, as you understand, fiber cement siding is permitted, but metal siding is not permitted, correct?
Correct.
That is correct.
So, given that, the stone or the CMU is more of an economical assembly
Okay.
in general.
That's fine.
comparatively speaking.
That's
So,
fine.
That's,
Isn't there, I looked at I guess a map or something online. Isn't this property way back in the woods?
it is
And there's a
pretty far
woods
back.
between the Twinsburgs, these houses, and your property. Can you even see through there? I mean, it's way back in there. Yeah,
It is.
That's why I'm not, you know, it's nice doing all that, but it won't be really visible for these residents.
That's
Peop-
correct.
Isn't that about right?
Driveway.
That's what it
The
showed
guy
on
next
the,
door next door is probably gonna be.
yeah, one of the realtors' maps to show this property, you know, that building you're gonna take down. Didn't seem like it was very close to anything, you know.
It's a substantial distance, I'm looking at it on the map.
Yep.
It is. That's
And
why.
there's a woods at the roadside that we're not gonna clear, so it's gonna still have the privacy.
Right.
The only thing that's clear is obviously the driveway, that's all set.
Clearance for fire.
So I figured I'd bring up that, like, if there's an more economical way to do it as opposed to doing all that CMU, I'd be fine with that too. So I'll let you guys kind of have that discussion if there's any other ways, but,
That fiber cement board is the only other option?
I'd have to look at the code to
Or
see
like
exactly
vertical
what else.
vinyl.
Again, you could look at the code and see what's
Yeah.
permitted and just kind of go
So that
through
was
it.
something we went back and forth quite a bit on, because we're looking at budget very closely for the building.
Yeah,
And again, I mean, there, you know, it's my understanding that from the code, vinyl is not permitted, metal is not permitted, and.
no, but there's ways to, you don't have to use a hardy product. You could use an AZAC type material and do some
Yeah.
kind of a design out of AZAC, which would,
I think hardy plank is, that's sort of the industry standard, that's sort of,
it is, but
it's pretty economical in terms of fiber cement products.
But there's
Yeah.
other cost-effective cementations boards.
there are, yeah, and that's kind of what I was
Hardy
getting at,
plank?
like, just giving you guys an option, because again, I feel like that,
Yeah,
where you did that accent in the front, it looks nice, it looks that's why I said adding, you know, a peak element to it, I think would help.
Which we actually had talked to
Kind of-
RGC about
Yeah.
that today, is
It-
doing some type
It,
of
was-
overhang.
it needs a little something there, and that's kind of what got me to thinking that, like, you know, again, if you guys did that band, and maybe it's only on the front part of the building that, like, you use that different material, and then obviously where you guys are taking your equipment and vehicles in and out of, having CMU there would probably be a lot more, it's more durable. So I mean, if somebody actually bangs into it, it's gonna probably withstand a little bit better than if somebody hits it with, you know, where you have a stud wall or whatever behind there. So again, just a thought, just something to give some consideration to, that if you guys wanted to investigate a different material there that kind of has that same look as the vertical side in there, I don't see any issue. I personally don't see any issue with it. I don't want to speak for the rest of the commission, but just trying to kind of find ways that might help you guys a little bit there.
All right, with that, if there's, unless there's other comments, make a motion for preliminary plan approval.
Second.
All right, anything else? Yeah, you've got the comments from all of them, and hopefully continue to keep moving forward. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks.
guys.
I have, sorry, one quick question. So we're, in terms of this, does that, we could proceed with this then?
Yeah, I think so.
So we could.
Yeah,
Consider his
you're fine.
suggestion
You're gonna-
there, I think.
You're gonna have to come back for final
We'll
anyways.
come back for
so
final,
if
but we're
if
not
there's
gonna-
changes between now and then that are, you know, in line with that, again, I just thought I would at least give you guys another option to investigate, because again, that looks nice. I feel like, again, it's just, I don't wanna say it's it's just a material that doesn't touch anywhere else in the building, so that's where I was like, you know, if you guys wanted to investigate another material that's similar to this, that helps lessen your cost as opposed to doing completely CMU, I'd be fine with that. I just wanna at least bring that up now as opposed to later on down the road, or have you guys come back and, you know, from a cost perspective, find out, so.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, dude. Thanks.
All right, next is the Fellowship Hall, St. Gregorio. Get your stuff with you. Good evening. Give him, give me a, yeah, I have enough for everybody, okay. How many more? 3 more? 4? 3. Yep. 3.
One more at the end there.
I have one more if you need it. I think that's everybody got one? All right. Mr. France, considering you've got a little bit of time, but not a lot, would you like to go through your stuff, or do you want to have him explain what's new in this new packet before we get into yours, or how would you like to?
I can
utilize
go
your
through
time?
mine, that's fine.
Why don't you do that, and then
Yeah.
if there's, yes, we can talk about the changes as he goes through.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's comments.
My report's dated November 9th, and this is based on the revised submittal. Application still dated August 23rd, 2024. Same request is for to construct a 1,870 square foot retreat center off the rear of the church, and then a 4,292 square foot fellowship hall. So I've gone through and just provide analysis of the preliminary development plan. Again, coming back to the first issue is the guest suites with the shared bathrooms and showers. Use of the space with separate living units remains a concern given the intent of the R1 zoning district. Each unit has a separate ingress egress to the exterior and essentially is configured similar to a motel. The plan documents a future kitchen to the rear of the living units. I think the applicant addresses that in this revised submittal. Despite kitchen facilities being provided in the proposed fellowship hall, it appears that no access to the fellowship hall is provided to the living units. The intent of the R1 district is to permit single-family residential and limited non-residential uses. Two-family and multifamily dwellings are not permitted in are permitted in the R2 district, but not the R1 district. Therefore, I believe a use variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals is needed to advance this portion of the proposal. Section 116302D requires a 10-foot side yard setback and a 5-foot rear yard setback. Sheet C2 of the civil plan illustrates approximately 26 feet for the side yard setback to the fellowship hall, but the schematic site plan illustrates approximately 23 feet to the future kitchen. There's a discrepancy between the two plans that need to be clarified. Brings to question whether the plans are prepared using survey data of the property boundaries. I don't know if they are, or it's just off of maybe aerial imagery. With regard to the off-street parking, 117111 requires off-street parking calculated at 1 space for each 5 seats to to accommodate the off-street parking. The intent is to construct additional parking, utilize a shared parking agreement with the adjacent United Methodist Church to the east. The revised submission documents total 63 spaces provided between the existing and proposed parking lot. The Fellowship Hall alone, 60 spaces are needed. The plan doesn't include the existing church or living units if they're approved by the BZA. The shared parking arrangement that's reached, we need to understand the interaction between the two sites, circulation, how they can circulate between the two, and just that relationship between them, you know, times of usage, all of that, how they'll interact together, because they likely will have overlap of usage. So we need to make sure both sites have enough parking to be able to accommodate the uses when there is overlap. The transition between the existing and proposed parking lot, the drive aisle width of the existing lot varies. In some locations appears to be greater than 26 feet. There's more than about 70 feet of pavement between the existing and proposed parking area, likely a drop-off area in front of the retreat portion of the building and the Fellowship Hall. This area should be reduced to eliminate the pavement and coordinate with the existing parking area, is to create maybe additional parking spaces on this site as opposed to coordinating with the adjacent site. The architectural elevations have been updated on sheets 6 and 7 of the schematic site plan. I comment the west gable end elevation still feels like additional attention is needed, and the south elevation window doesn't match all the others being proposed. It appears that vinyl siding is being proposed in some areas, which is not acceptable. The applicant should consider some brand of cementatious material as an alternative. Details about the materials used for the dumpster enclosure must also be provided and match the building. And then HVAC units need to be shown and shown how they're screened from view. Lighting still needs to be provided. The applicant said the photometrics plan will be provided. A detailed landscape plan will need to be provided for final plan approval. And then conceptual information is now shown for stormwater management, but more detailed information needs to be provided for the final plan approval. So I think a lot of this stuff is technical in nature and can be corrected, but the issue, as I still continue to come to, is these living units, the guest suites, if you will, with the shared bathrooms and showers. And I believe the only way to advance that portion of the project is to obtain a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
All right. Do you want to discuss any of those points that he?
I can read what I wrote. The response to every one of those is in the letter, the cover letter of the package that I brought with me tonight. And I agree with Mr. France. I don't think any of the issues are ones that we can't handle, and I've said in all of the comments that we will take care of that. The thing with that, what in the beginning was it, the setbacks? Yeah, that was just I explained in here that first preliminary plan was done before the survey was done. And once the survey was done, I didn't get back in time to update the numbers on my plan. So I did update the numbers on my plan now. So if you end up looking at sheet 1 at the back, the numbers that illustrate the setback to the west property line are the same as they are on the survey, which you received in the last submission. So, but all the other things can be, and I tried to explain this as clearly as I could without asking Pastor James to come and explain it. But I could restate it just to say there are no living units. We never called them living units. They're only guest units, if you will, or guest suites. And they're only there for the purpose of these retreats that the church wants to have, which is why they're building this retreat center. And we never called them living units, so I don't think they should be called living units. And secondly, nobody's living there. They may be there on a Saturday night for a sleepover, or on a long weekend for a couple of sleepovers. I doubt that they'll ever do a week, but they said that's possible. But I don't understand, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I don't understand the problem, because it's not a house, it's not an apartment, it's not a motel, it's not a hotel, it's not a living quarters, it's a guest suite for people that are coming to the church for a retreat. And they come probably on a Friday afternoon, and they spend the time there, and they're there Friday night, Saturday, some of them, then they go home. If it's a longer one, they're there Saturday night, they go home Sunday. If it's 3 nights, maybe they're there. Meals are brought in. I doubt that they're ever going to actually cook meals for the retreat in the kitchen. That just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But nobody lives there. And retreats of this type are a standard thing for any church I've ever attended. And as far back as I can remember, when I went to the Lutheran church in South Bend, Indiana, we had overnighters. And the church that I now attend, which is called the Chapel in Akron, been there about 45 years, they have overnighters. My wife attended overnighters. She went on a mission trip to Philadelphia to a church. They had overnighters. In fact, they had 3 overnighters in a row while they were there doing mission stuff. So I don't see why BZA has to be involved, and I don't think it's right to be calling them living units because nobody lives there. So.
Can I ask a quick question? So, I guess my question in regards to, one, some of the other places you brought up, their zoning code may read differently than ours does.
I looked that up. I looked up your zoning code, and I don't even see why it.
Because it's not, I mean, essentially this is truly what it really ends up coming down to, is it's almost is like a motel or a hotel. It's a place where somebody would stay overnight. I mean, I don't know what else you define it as.
Yeah, they stay over.